So this year Active is turning 16. It's now old enough to get its license and drive. So if we go back to, right back at the start there, what are your first, memories or experiences of the business and when it started out?
Well, I guess if you start right from the start, it was just yourself and I. We kind of could see a few gaps that we thought we could improve on or just do a little bit better. So I guess that's when we made the call to start Active Property Services back then. It did have a name change later on down the track. And we kind of split the different roles that we could see a building manager needed to have. Back then it was jack of all trades for building managers. They needed to be able to clean the common areas, take the phone calls, reply to emails, communicate with owners, residents, contractors, and also manage the complex, so the walkthroughs, doing grounds, and also taking calls after hours if someone's locked themselves out of their house, or the roller door goes down and you've got 5 cars stuck in the car park area. So it was a huge mixture. That's where we kind of started, and from there it kind of grew organically as we could see different parts of the business needed more resource or support. We brought in those staff that were more specific to that role. I think our first one was night patrol or after hours, and that was purely because it's pretty hard waking up in the middle of the night, say 2 o'clock in the morning, to do a lockout or manage a broken down door and then get back to sleep. But then you were asked to, or you had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to start your normal building manager day. So we saw a need to be able to not blow ourselves out, I guess, and that was the first staff member to Active.
So what did you do before Active? What was your training and background?
So after high school, went to university to study for a Bachelor of Education and Diploma of Teaching. So that was my career back in those days, or what I'd trained for. Really enjoyed it. Loved teaching children and just seeing them grow, I guess. And then once children started coming on, we were a bit wanting to be able to be parents and possibly change our lifestyle a little bit. I found it quite difficult to leave our own children in daycare. So we kind of decided or worked out how we could maybe change that side of things. And I guess when I was on leave looking after our first child, Jaden, I just volunteered really as doing building management or admin and accounts type of scenario, and got interested in it, and I just wanted to learn more, and once I'd learnt all that, I was like, I actually really enjoy this type of work. And funnily enough, like just things, the universe kind of all came together, and there was an opportunity for us to start managing buildings. You'd already been in the industry prior with a few different companies, so it just kind of made sense, and it was, yeah.
So when you look at being a teacher, what do you think are some of the crossover skills from being a teacher to being a building manager, aside from managing naughty people?
I think you've got to be organised, and you've got to do a lot of planning as well. Every day is different, similar to when you're at school. Different personalities, different home lives, so you have to manage the environment you're in. The planning and organising of your day is quite important, and communicating. So being able to explain what's happening and the reason why, and just juggling different parties or different people to make the day go as smoothly as possible. Yeah.
And so was it a shock for you to go from dealing with kids to dealing with buildings and people and contractors? How'd you find that change?
I didn't mind it so much because I quite like engaging with different people and different cultures, age ranges. So it wasn't really a shock. Yeah, I guess because I liked that type of socializing or communicating with the different groups. It wasn't so much of a shock, really.
And so over the years, as the business has developed, it's gone from, like you said, just 2 to 60 odd or whatever it is now. It's a lot of people. What's your main role within the business? Explain what you do on a day-to-day basis.
Oh, and I think interesting question. Put me on the spot. I think the role, we're 16 years into active now, so the role, or my role, has changed, or it's gone through different chapters. At the start, it was very hands-on, kind of working on the tools, which was great because I learnt a lot of information and really understand the whole management of a complex and all the different equipment and the different people you need to be able to manage and contractors, and also the urgents and the nice to haves. So it's prioritizing. So at the start it was hands-on, learned a lot from that. As the company grew, it was more about coaching and mentoring, having new building managers come on, cleaners. Funnily enough, I love cleaning, by the way. And
it's important.
And then the administration. So I had to be learning myself. My degree isn't in financial or that side of things. So at every different chapter, I've had to learn new skills and work it out, really. The number 8 why is quite real for Kiwi-owned businesses that start right from the start with 1 or 2, and then you're growing into 50, 60 staff.
Yeah, that's a good comment, actually, because pretty much every business, whether it's a massive corporation or a 100 people or whatever, it always starts off with probably 1 or 2 or 3 people. They always start small, and it's up to whoever's in charge to make that call to see if they can go large with it and blow it up and see what can happen. And I think we've definitely been through that. We got to we had a goal of getting to X amount of buildings, and we achieved that. And probably once we got there, we realised it's not the be all and end all to have a X amount of buildings. It was like, okay, we've done it, but we can see that there's probably some issues now. So let's almost do a bit of downsizing, bit of clearing out, and then see what the next goal is or target is. I guess that's the beauty about being in business, is you can make those decisions. And certainly we've got a really good team of people around us that help us with those decisions. So yeah, it's exciting. So do you call yourself a building manager?
I still do, yes. Because I still like building management. So I guess where the company is now, I need to be coaching and mentoring and assisting more. But I actually like going to sites and just seeing the ins and outs and how we can improve a building with processes, and the fact it's a massive investment for all those owners, it's quite there's a responsibility there. And yeah, I just like the building management industry, and I hope that I am still on the tools that, in some way or part.
Yeah, I think given the type of people that we are, we'll always be on the tools in some way, shape or form. So two-pronged question. What do you enjoy about, firstly, the industry? You kind of just answered it then, but what do you enjoy about the industry, and then what do you enjoy about Active as a company?
What I like about the industry is every day is different, and you're really finding solutions all the time, which I enjoy. So I enjoy finding solutions, making sure that the complexes are enjoyable and a great place for a lot of like a village or a community to live in. So that's quite satisfying. And then I guess what I like about Active is I think it's the staff that we bring in and seeing them grow, and the different personalities, different cultures, and different strengths and skill sets. I really enjoy. So you've got the formal active building management side of things, but I quite like getting to know the staff, getting to know their stories. Everyone's different, so I enjoy that side of things, but it's just seeing them grow. Yeah,
totally. It's probably one of the more satisfying parts of what we do, aside from the business and the service that we provide, is seeing good people doing good things and achieving well, which is that becomes more rewarding at the end of the day than growing the business. And I think in large part that does help to grow the business. So the flip side of that is, what don't you enjoy about the industry?
That's a good one. I think it's sometimes there's issues or incidents that need to be dealt with, and it might not be so much the building manager. For example, the power going out. We don't go and turn power off to annoy our residents, but for some reason it really we get put under quite some intense pressure, and I guess we're a bit of a sounding board, or at the forefront of the problem that we're trying to deal with.
We end up being the first point of call for people, and it's like, well, don't you normally call Vector? In that case, it's like people that get stuck in lifts and call us. It's like, there's the number right, it's right in front of you. Call the lift people. It's got the the emergency bell there. You press that and you call the lift company. There's no use calling us. And we say, well, that's cool, but just do what you're supposed to do. And I think in a lot of ways we get hammered with a lot of those calls that I guess where people either don't understand, or they just think, the first person they think of is the building manager. And 9 times out of 10 it's the wrong person to call, unfortunately. But yeah,
you're right. And I think most residents have their building manager on speed dial, so it's very easy to call them, and because I guess we are always bringing solutions to the table, their expectation is we'll be able to turn the power back on, or we'll be able to work out why a lift has gone into an emergency stop. But in reality, we're not going to risk their life or risk even that large piece of equipment to get a quick fix. It has to be with the contractor to do the right thing.
The risk of this sounding like a job interview. What of your natural skills do you bring to the table, and what do you think your strengths are within the business, but that also made you a good building manager when you were actually directly managing buildings?
I think organisation. being organised, being able to find a solution or deal with a problem right to the end, communicating, making sure that the right parties knew what was happening, being able to manage maintenance items so that it all came together easily, finding solutions not just for that day but the follow-up as well. So something's happened, why has it happened, how can we make it better? Just is it foresight? No, opposite of foresight.
Hindsight.
Yeah. No. So hindsight is, how can we make sure this doesn't happen again? Why has it happened? Is there a better way to do this, or is there a better fix for this? That type of thing. And also just, I guess, being committed too. So having that attitude of building manager, you're 24/7. I mean, I wouldn't expect to be calling 24/7, but just that commitment that something's happening, I will pick up my phone in the weekend, or this might be an owner type of attitude, but if I'm on holiday and someone just needs a simple text or a call, I'm prepared to do that.
I think a couple of things are quite clear with what we do, and there's quite a hard case video on YouTube about what does a facility or building manager do, and it's a guy juggling, and he's like this master juggler, and he's talking about facility management, how you've got to wear a lot of hats and you've got so many things going on at once, and I think what you said there about being organised is hugely important, because you are juggling a lot of different tasks or projects or expectations or people in a lot of cases. You've got to be able to clearly know where each of those what stage they're at, and you've got to be able to prioritise, so that when you do get something like an emergency comes in, you kind of have to drop everything, but you've also got to know where to pick up from again once you do go back into into normal work mode. And I guess that that comes down to what we do here with our three key words, identify, solve, communicate. It comes down to what are the issues, what are the problems, and we say to the team, you've got to identify those. And that's when you're doing your building audits, you're doing walkthroughs, and you're physically proactively looking for things, looking for issues, and then when you find something like that, you've got to provide a solution to it. So if you come across a burst pipe in a building, what's the next step after you see it? And you don't freak out or or run away. You think, right, I've got to get a plumber, and we've got to mitigate the situation to start with. Maybe put a bucket under it, or we'll get a squeegee or whatever, but you've got to get a plumber in to fix that, and then the last part of that whole 3-step process is to communicate it. So you've got to tell people what's going on, or else they don't know. They either don't know that you're on top of it, or they don't know that you've finished the job. And you get a lot of people that will say an issue will happen, and the phone will start ringing because it's affecting multiple people, and you're like, yep, we're on it, we're just trying to deal with it. Hang up on that phone call, and then they ring again. And you've got to, I guess one of the benefits of our technology here is that we can do broadcasts, and we can tell people, okay, we know there's a flood or a burst pipe, and you can send a message out to everyone at the same time. So it's about, but like you say, being organised is a key to a building manager's role. And I think I've always said it, I think women are far more organised than some men, not all men. And that's why I think there needs to be more. We'd love to have more women in the industry, but also in the company, because I think they bring a natural skill set to the table that's really really suited to building management as it is now. Historically, it was a bit of a like you said before, it's pushing a mop and picking up rubbish, but over the years, I think we've been at the forefront of evolving that role and trying to get it to be more of that commercial facility management role. And we're starting to call some of our team FMs, because they're doing similar types of work. FM is usually a commercial term, I guess, but we're trying to bring that professionalism, or over the years we have, into what we do. Yeah, so it's interesting to see where the industry has come from and changed over the years, and yeah, like I said, I think we've been, a large part of leading that change. So what do you think are the challenges for, say, probably not the industry at this stage, but what do you think are the challenges for Active as a business, moving forward, having just come out of COVID and the Great Resignation? What's your thoughts on the challenges ahead?
I think our challenges are probably very similar to a lot of companies in the industry and also in the wider industries or the other industries, and it is the Great Resignation, or just with COVID, people have become accustomed to a different way of working, which is fine if it's the industry can operate like that. But for service-based industries, it's very tricky to be working from home. You can't use your phone to manage a complex. You really have to be eyes and ears.
Some would argue that.
Yes. You have to be on site, and that's quite a huge component to checking escape routes or equipment, meeting with residents, coordinating contractors to make sure that they're focused on the right area, the fix is right, and the work has been done to standard. So yeah, in general, active and building management industry, I think the challenge is keeping those habits and keeping that type of workforce engaged, and understanding that you can't work from home to be a building manager. You have to be on site. Just another thing on that just reminded me in the whole COVID thing is it was interesting that we were never really pinpointed, or it wasn't specific around building management as an essential worker, but we were. You couldn't have 50 to 300 residents in a complex without that ongoing building management presence. Everything from rubbish collections, making sure that things were sanitary or clean, to making sure that the fire escapes, and all of those really important systems were running, because we actually had more residents in the complexes at that time, putting in processes on how the lists were going to be used, access. There were just probably opportunists out there because of either no work or just a different environment in Auckland City.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the whole essential the whole essential services thing, and that's a term that I detest. That's come out of the COVID thing, much like that new normal bloody phrase. I hate that as well. It's but to say to people, one day your business is your business, and then the next day it's non-essential. That's just such a gutting and demoralising thing. And we were fortunate to scrape through, I think. But I say this on behalf of, I guess, us, but out to every other building management company out there, and even the one-man bands. They did a hell of a lot of work. We did a hell of a lot of work throughout COVID to make sure that the buildings kept running. And because it's such a weird little niche industry that we're in, it wouldn't have come up on the tick box that you had to tick to make sure you were applying for whatever you had to, your I don't know, exemptions or passes, I can't even remember now. But we would never have featured with our own line item of building manager or facility manager. We came under it was under the building industry services or something like that. But it was because we are a weird little niche of the, you could say we were part of the hospitality industry, we're part of the building industry, we're part of the what other industries, compliance, health and safety, all those things rolled into one. And I think if we hadn't pushed to get ourselves recognised as essential, would be, there'd be a hell of a lot of issues that would be cleaning up, even now. But I think it's a good point to come out of COVID, and largely intact. Thankfully, not like a lot of other people, unfortunately, who would have lost their jobs and things. But potentially, there's a lot of challenges ahead as we navigate. Probably now is the harder time for us than during the actual pandemic.
Yes, yeah. I think there was the COVID and just how our team worked tirelessly. There's a bit of fatigue as well, and it's just trying to get, I guess COVID, it fractured a lot of habits or relationships or just that whole, general team environment. So it's tidying that up as well, and I think there is, if anything, it's being careful now and planning well for the next 1 to 2 years. That's probably going to be more of the challenge with how COVID has influenced different decisions on, or has just costs of living and the increases just even within Auckland. And people just wanting to change as well, potentially getting out of Auckland or wanting to, go back, see their family, move home, seeing the value of being closer to their family, or just wanting a change. I think the next 1 or 2 years will be interesting, and I just hope that I don't want to get too government orientated, but the government really needs to get away from the desk planning and really see what's out there for New Zealand, and make some better decisions maybe.
Yeah, and we've been through all that in the last 6 to 9 months with things reopening. I actually think that the reopening phase has been more difficult to navigate than during COVID, because during COVID we had pretty strict sort of guidelines around what we could and couldn't do. People couldn't go anywhere, so there was a pretty stable team throughout that time. But then once the borders start opening up and all those restrictions start easing, then that's for us, I think, when the challenges started happening. You've got people moving jobs, you've got people people getting sick. With COVID, that's disruptive. Despite the immunisation rate, I think we only had 2% of the staff that weren't immunised for various reasons, but we proactively managed that, and it was fine. But then you have to you're also dealing with staff that haven't been home for a couple of years. Say they go back to the country that they were born in, and they're like catching up with their family. So it's a disruptive time. Everyone's the pay, like wages and things, are all going up, and then it's a tough one to get body corporates at times to increase their their fees. So it's an ongoing battle, and I think like you said, we've got to plan for it. And you can plan for some things, you can't plan for everything, so you just got to basically do your best, provide the service that you're there to provide, and just hope that everyone backs you with it. So we've got the 16th anniversary coming up in it's a couple of weeks, isn't it, really? And so what have you got organised for that? Because I hear you've been working away in the background organising a pretty cool event. So what have you got planned?
So I guess last year 15th anniversary, and we celebrated that, but because we haven't, just due to certain reasons, we haven't been able to have a full staff function for a good 2 years. So initially I wanted to organise something around that, and because we've been working on just redoing our visions and values and mission statements and things, I just found it was a good opportunity to put a few things together. Then I recognised that we're having our sweet 16th birthday or anniversary, so put together a bit of an event that brings all the staff together, and I wanted it to be a team building event as well, because of what's been in the current last 2 years. It was a little bit disappointing for me to see our active team spirit, which we were quite we were quite proud of. That whole family and team spirit. It kind of took a bit of a dive with just how the office was pretty much closed, but we were still working in and around the city, and the closest we could get was online meetings. So to see that take a dive, I really wanted that to be part of the focus for the next. It's going to take a year to build that up. So the event is a Master Chef challenge where the team will be put into groups of 5 at a cooking school and have to make plates for us. So that's going to be pretty cool.
So we're judging, are we?
Yes, we're part of the judges.
Probably the safest side of the kitchen bench for me to be on.
So it's just celebrating all that, and making sure that we recognise the staff for what they have done through these last few years, and how important their contribution to Active is. We're only 2 people that, we have our skill set and I guess experience, but all the staff bring different experiences and they contribute to Active in different ways, and it's just celebrating the fact that we are all different, but as a team we're really strong in experience, skill set, hobbies, conversation, which I think is really important for us.
Yeah, sounds like fun. It's going to be an interesting evening, and like you say, to re-establish the mission, vision, values, but reignite that team spirit again, because it has been tough on everybody, and we've got a number of new faces in the team, which is great. It's always an opportunity to refresh the team when someone leaves, and there's been a lot of that lately, and like a lot of other businesses have experienced too. So we look forward to getting the new people involved, and lifting their energy again. So before we end this, 2 questions. The first one is, what would you be doing if you weren't a building manager? And then you can answer that, and I'll throw the second one at you.
What would I be doing? Oh, this is a tricky one. If I wasn't a building manager, well, to be honest, I think I would have hoped that I would have found this industry in maybe a different way or another way. So, like I said previously, I actually really enjoy building management. It's a bit of a passion, really. Like, I get excited about facility management conferences and technology around the whole building management and that type of thing. So I would hope that I may have been teaching for a little bit longer, but I probably would have found building management, because it just suits my skill set and my interests to a T, to the point that it becomes a passion. I do have a few other hobbies outside of building management, but I enjoy it. I really like it.
Cool. Yeah, good answer. I think it does suit your skill set. You're definitely the details person in this relationship, which is what I need. I can be, but I'd prefer not to be a detailed person. I'd like a slightly wider view. But yeah, and so the last question is, you got to finish this sentence, okay?
Okay.
So it might be another shocker for you. The next time I come on the Active Insight podcast, I want to speak about
women in the industry.
Boom. Let's finish it there. That was a great answer, actually. Bloody good answer. So yeah, get your thinking cap on for the next one, and we'll talk about women in the industry next time you're on.
Sounds good. Yep.
Cheers.
Great.